Good evening. We're going to bring the Appointments Committee to order. All right, good evening. Today is Tuesday, April 18th, 2023. It's now 6:49, and we're bringing the Appointments Committee to order. We have a public comment for tonight. One of a member of the public, Jessica Jacobson, has put together a comment for the Board of Health nominee for the public comments. Some of the public would like to know the following from the Board of Health nominee before appointing her. Please let me know your views on the Board of Health mandates, including but not limited to mask mandates, vaccine mandates, COVID testing mandates, natural immunity and natural antibodies. I'd like to know your views on city COVID vaccine clinics, fluoridation of the public water supply. Thank you, Jessica. We'll now hold it open for any other public comments. No more than 2 minutes.
Jacqueline Wetchy, Fitchburg resident, also speaking on Board of Health nominee. I emailed the nominee asking her views on health policy, and she did not respond. This is information the public should have so we can make relevant public comments on her nomination. My issue of concern is medical and bodily autonomy. No one has the right to tell me to wear a mask or wear a burqa or get a vaccine or an invasive medical test. If, despite my age, due to the miracles of modern technology, I conceive, no one should tell me what to do with my pregnancy. It is always my body, my choice, not just when it fits someone else's political agenda. Under the guise of safety, the Board of Health mandated masks that they themselves admitted were largely ineffective, trampling on people's rights. Animals can also transmit COVID-19. For a long time, our own government said animal-to-human transmission in the wet markets of Wuhan started the pandemic. But no one would think of forcing masks on animals because it's cruel and unusual, yet they were imposed on Fitchburg residents, including children. Think about it. We were treated worse than dogs. This is wrong, and it must never happen again. Please ensure that the nominee respects civil liberties and human rights.
Thank you. Any other public comments? Okay, we'll get to the appointments. First, we have a new appointment to the Fitchburg Council on Aging, term to expire April 1st, 2026. Ann L. Belmer.
Elmer, yeah. I don't see her.
What's that?
I don't see her.
Okay, yeah, I don't see her either.
Motion to approve.
Second, I know, I have met her. She's in my ward. She's pastor of the church in my ward. I think she's a perfect fit for the Council on Aging.
On the motion, I will agree that she has been active since coming to Fitchburg in different community events and seems very, very willing to step forward and serve the city.
Thank you very much. Okay, we have a motion and a second.
Yep.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All right, she's appointed. The next, we have a new appointment for a special police officer for the Fitchburg Police Department, Philip Kearns. Mr. Kearns has contacted me earlier. Unfortunately, he won't be here this evening, but we're going to move forward with his appointments. Chief, go right ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good evening, appointment committee members. I respectfully request your consideration in appointing Phil Kearns as a special police officer for the city of Fitchburg. As you're well aware, Phil served for the city of Fitchburg with distinction for 35 years, retiring as deputy police chief. After retiring from the Fitchburg Police Department, Phil continued his public service working as a reserve police officer for the town of Hadwick, where he served in that capacity for nearly 5 years. Mr. Kearns' last assignment in law enforcement was in the role as the acting chief of police for the city of Gardner. This acting position was temporary while the city of Gardner looked for a permanent chief. Since that time, Phil had reached out to me, expressed an interest to come back to the city of Fitchburg and continue to serve as long as he can statutorily. Statutorily, he's allowed to serve for several more years. And since his leaving the Fitchburg Police Department, Phil has been able to keep up on all his certifications, both through post and through the MPTC. and he has a desire to serve as a special police officer. As you're well aware, our special police officers are primarily used for details. However, because of state statute now and the requirements under the post system, our special police officers, our retired officers, are no different than our full-time sworn officers. They carry all the legal authority as a police officer, and we're very lucky that years ago we created this home rule petition where our retired officers are able to work to a statutory age, thus giving us a force multiplier when it comes to police officers available during the daytime. I think Phil's going to be a magnificent addition to this. I can't wait to see him back in a Fitchburg police uniform with your approval this evening. I'd be happy to answer any questions relative to his appointment.
Thank you, Councilor Green.
Well, I don't have any questions, just to commend Officer Kearns on wanting to return and serve the city once again that he so honorably did when he was here. So I welcome his reappointment and look forward to seeing him again in uniform, hopefully not just out on the streets, but, as an active member of our police force. Thank you.
Motion to approve?
Second.
We have a motion, a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. He stands approved. Next, we have 7 appointments, Chief?
6.
6, excuse me.
One withdrew.
Oh, okay. So we have new appointments, full-time student police officers, Fitchburg Police Department, Matthew Pawson, Zachary Saladana, Sean Burns. Oh, I'm going to massacre this one.
Ramon Viches.
Oh, thank you. Okay, well, all right. Ramon Viches, Connor Monahan, and Brandon Bento.
I had to practice the names a few times, so don't feel bad. So,
Well, the one that burned, the one that withdrew, that's,
that would have been a tough one.
that's a tough one. Go ahead, Chief.
Well, this is really an exciting night for the Fitchburg Police Department. We haven't had a class this size probably in 20 years. As you're well aware, we've been trying to catch up in our hiring. We've had a difficult 3-4 years getting candidates and getting them to this point. So, first of all, I'd like to commend my staff for getting us to this point. A lot of work and hard work and effort go into getting us to this evening. But I'm really excited. I think we've put together an extremely diverse group, but a group that really brings a lot of different life skills and life experiences to the table. And I think they have a lot to offer the city of Fitchburg and the police department. If accepted by your body today, they will be heading to the Police Academy in West Boylston on the 24th of April, where they will spend 24 weeks training at the MPTC Academy before they return to Fitchburg, where they will undergo their 12 weeks of field training. I'd like to take some time and just ask one at a time to stand up and just give you a little bit of brief synopsis of each candidate. Matthew Pawson. Matthew is a lifelong resident of Fitchburg. He comes from a family of public service with an uncle as a firefighter and cousins who work in the 911 dispatch world. During Matthew's middle school years, he attended and graduated from the very first Fitchburg Police Academy, Junior Academy. I believe this is our second police officer that has actually gone through our Junior Police Academy, which is really exciting to see. From after high school, Matthew went on to continue his studies, and he graduated from Fitchburg State University with a degree in criminal justice. Matthew did not stop there. He continued his education and went on to UMass Lowell, earning a master's degree in criminal justice. Matthew has been working at a local hospital in the security department. I believe that his education and his labor skills will serve him well as a Fitchburg police officer, and we're really excited for his future in our department. Zachary Saldana. Zachary, also a resident of Fitchburg and a graduate of the Fitchburg Goodrich Academy, also comes from a family of public service. I believe this is our first police officer that graduated from the Goodrich Academy, which is exciting in itself. Zachary credits his high school principal. Let me back up a little bit. My staff usually does most of the upfront work where they're doing background checks, home visits, and then they present me with a biography and a little bit of understanding of the candidate. And something really jumped out on Mr. Saldana. Zachary credits his high school principal, Miss Curry, who many of us know, for making it to this point in his life. She provided him with consistent support and encouragement. It says a lot about what Ms. Curry does at Goodrich School. Zachary received high remarks from my hiring team, who told me that his life experiences will serve him well as a police officer. Zachary has cleared many hurdles getting to this point today. And one thing that really jumped out at me when I was reading his biography, he said he can't wait to see himself as a police officer in the city of Fitchburg and really make his parents proud. Something I thought was important. Sean Burns. Sean comes to us from the city of Auburn. Sean has spent the last 11 years serving in the Army National Guard. During this time, Sean was deployed to Afghanistan in 2014. He did a deployment on the Texas border working for the Department of Homeland Security. Finally, Sean traveled to Africa, where he assisted the Kenyan military in operating heavy equipment. Sean brings years of service and life experience to this position, and we were excited to offer him this position. He tells my staff once again that he really wants to make his parents proud. I have no doubt that he most certainly will. Thank you. Ramon Viches. Ramon comes to us from the city of Boston. Growing up in the Dorchester section of the city, Ramon now lives in the city of Fitchburg, having graduated from Malden High School and then going on to the Mass College of Liberal Arts. He has provided himself with the tools for public service. Athletics was a large part of his time growing up, and many of those lessons learned, from discipline to teamwork to social skills, are significant assets that will provide him well in the future as a police officer. Ramon explains how growing up in the inner city of Dorchester has extremely provided him with life skills that he can bring to the table in his work as a police officer. Stuff that exactly what we're looking for in today's policing. Thank you. Connor Monahan. Connor also comes from a family of public service. Both his brothers are in law enforcement, and most recently, Connor is a sheriff at the Worcester County Sheriff's Office. I know Sheriff Lou is not happy that he's coming our way, but that was a conversation we just had. A graduate of Wachusett Regional High School, he went on to Quinsigamond College to further his education. Looking for additional challenges, Connor enrolled in the United States Marine Corps, serving honorably for 6 years, leaving at the rank as sergeant. Colin brings a ton of life experiences to the city of Fitchburg, and we're excited to take him on as a student police officer. And last but not least, Brandon Bento. Born in the city of Cambridge, later moved with his family to the town of Acton. Growing up in a large, close Brazilian family has given him life skills which will serve him well as a police officer. Brandon moved to Brazil as a sophomore in high school, and then only to return to Massachusetts, where he graduated from Marlboro High School in 2018. Brandon has worked at the USA Ninja Challenge in Marlboro, along with working at a local moving company. No doubt Brandon's work ethics and life experiences are traits that will serve him well as a police officer. I'm really excited, once again, to present to you for consideration this group this evening. I think it brings exceptional diversity to our department. The life experiences that each one of them brings to the table is exceptional. This is the first time that our department has had to go beyond the civil service residence list. That's why you're seeing names from Boston, from Auburn, from Sterling. You're seeing these names from different parts. So when we first pulled the list off the statewide list, we had hesitation. Well, those hesitations went away quickly as we started doing our background checks and looking into each one of these individuals as potential police officers. Dozens and dozens of hours go into the vetting process of police officers today. We want to make sure we're getting the right candidate to do this job today. And I can say without hesitancy, what my team has put together tonight is just that. They're going to be fine additions to our police department upon your consideration. I'll be happy to take any questions at this point.
Thank you, Chief. Councilor Green.
And again, Chief, I commend you and the work that your office does on bringing forth candidates that not only know how to police, but are changing what that means for our community and how police officers look, how they act, how you police. And I appreciate the diversity that you continue to bring to widen our scope of practice in policing for the city of Fitchburg. So again, I commend everybody, and to Zachary for taking this challenge on as a struggle, but yet fighting through it. I commend you, and I look forward to, having you in uniform representing the city of Fitchburg. So thank you. And thank you to all of you, to your military service as well. I appreciate that. Thank you for your willingness to serve not only our military, but then here in our community as well. So looking forward to seeing you all as Fitchburg police officers. Thank you.
Councillor Fleming?
To piggyback on Councilor Green's, I am very impressed with all these resumes and how rounded each of these individuals are. What I wanted to add was regarding Mr. Saldana. Goodrich Academy probably is one of the most emotional graduations I've ever been to. So if anybody ever has a chance to go to them, I suggest go. It's just to understand how hard these kids work to graduate from high school is just amazing in itself. We're lucky to have all of you. But my son works for the sheriff's department, so yeah, they might be a little bit sad over there with Mr. Monahan coming here. So, but welcome all of you and wish you luck.
Councillor Van Hazinga?
Thank you. So with the staffing challenges the department has had in recent years, I'm very excited to see such a large class that we're able to send to the academy. Congratulations on that. I'm sure that will help, and I'm impressed with the qualifications of all the applicants. And I'm excited to see you on the streets. So I hope the academy goes well, and looking forward to having you back in uniform.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Second.
Motion and second. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Thank you.
Congratulations, gentlemen.
Thank you for your support.
All right, next we have a new appointment, a permanent full-time firefighter in the city of Fitchburg, Alex M. Hyman. Hi, Chief.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and councilors. And thank you for the opportunity to present our top candidate. This is for one of two current vacant positions that we have on the Fitchburg Fire Department, and I hope that with your blessing tonight, one of those positions will be filled. Our top candidate is Alec Diamond. Alec will be replacing firefighter Marty Kukula, who sadly passed away as an active firefighter back in January. Alec is a Fitchburg resident and currently lives on New West Townsend Road. He's a hard-working young man. He's been working construction over the last 6 years. Myself and our other fire officers met with Alec many times over the hiring process over the last few months, and we know that he's going to bring exactly what the city expects and deserves from him. Professionalism, dedication. He is a licensed EMT, and he has passed all of his medical and physical examinations. Bringing Alec on will bring our staffing back up to 80, as we are still short one firefighter. Once again, thank you for your time, and I'll be happy to answer any questions you might have.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Second.
Motion and second. All those in favor?
Aye.
All right, it's unanimous.
very much.
Thank you. All right, we have another new appointment to the Board of Health, term to expire January 1st, 2026. Diane F. Evans, Chusignut, RN. You want to approach the podium, or?
Hello.
Good afternoon. Just tell us a little bit about yourself.
Okay. Well, I've lived in Fitchburg for this year 42 years. Moved here from Leominster, but I am either, local. I have had I would say a lifelong interest in health, not just for myself, but for the community, for others, for my family. I currently am working part-time as a nurse still. I'm honored to be asked to join the Board of Health. It's been quite a few years since I have volunteered to do anything in the city of Fitchburg, but years ago it was a time to be more active. The kids were younger, schools and civic days, and so I'm honored to be asked to do this, and I feel like I'm ready.
All right, well, thank you. Councilor Green.
Does any,
Yeah, so I've known Diane for 30+ plus years. I know that she would be a great addition. Being a retired RN, she brings the nursing background and the health component to what the Board of Health department needs for that. So I'm looking forward to her joining, and I have no doubt that her commitment to this community will shine through on the work that she does as we're appointed.
Councillor Van Hazinga.
Thank you for being willing to step forward and serve on the Board of Health. All our boards and commissions require people who are willing to come forward and serve, typically with no compensation at all. And it's an important position, and it's a position, or the board has gotten a lot more attention in recent years with the start of the COVID epidemic. And I'm just wondering how you look to manage the intersection of public health and politics, because that has come to the forefront more recently across our country and here in the city as well. That there's been a lot of contention. How do you look to manage the intersection of those two things?
That's a really good question, and I'm hoping to just kind of get into the place. I haven't given that thought, really. I'm not sure. I'm hoping that my mentors who are already here on the Board of Health and Steve Curry will be able to give me some guidance and help me to understand some of these things. I mean, I think I understand your question, the intersection of politics and health in the city of Fitchburg. And
So I think we've seen a rise in efforts to roll back a lot of public health initiatives, both nationally and locally. And there's been a lot of pressure to do that may not necessarily be based on public health decisions, but political decisions. I think that's where
but
my
based
question
on
is.
what?
Political decisions. And I was wondering, how do you feel about managing public health efforts and how those decisions are made, and what should be in place and what shouldn't?
What should be what?
What should be in place in terms of public health programs? How do you manage the idea that we should have public health programs or we should not, or some people feel that we should do things, or some people feel we should not do things? How do you look to manage those decisions?
Well, first of all, my understanding is that it won't be just myself who's making these decisions, that I will have the guidance that I need along the way. Of course, I do have some of my own opinions about things like mandates and what should be mandated and what should not be mandated. Is that what you're asking me to address right now?
No, I'm not asking you about specific issues.
Okay.
I'm asking about your decision-making process when it comes to questions of public health efforts. What do you look at to be determining factors to decide whether or not a public health program should be in place? You mentioned mandates, whether there should be mandates or whether there not should be mandates. Whether some issues that have come up recently, I don't want to touch on this specifically, but just ideas like fluoridizing water, whether promoting vaccinations. The most recent one I've seen is mosquito control efforts. What is your process for weighing those decisions when they come forward, when you have some people saying we should be doing things, when you have some people saying we shouldn't do things? How do you come to that decision about what is the proper route to take?
I'm not sure what the route is that is being taken right now, but it seems like a lot of the things that you're talking about would be, there's got to be some input from the community as well. Like, I don't think that being on the Board of Health, just newly coming into the Board of Health, I'm going to be making decisions like that it's going to be a community education, and that we'll be able to make decisions together. Did that answer your question, or is that not answering your question?
Okay, so you're placing a lot of weight on community input in these decision-making process?
Yeah, well, I would think that that's how, I mean, I'm not sure how the Board of Health has gone about making choices and decisions like this at this time. Or in the past.
Okay.
I haven't seen past minutes or notes to know.
Have you watched any videos of Board of Health meetings recently?
I have not.
I'm done.
Councilor Fleming.
Thank you. Just based on your answer, I will be voting in favor of you. I guess what he was asking in a different, and correct me if I'm wrong, is are you going to be a rubber stamp on exactly what the Board of Health wants, or are you going to research things yourself before you come to that decision? Or are you just going to say, this is what the Board of Health says, so this is what we're going to do? Or are you going to do some of your own research?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Okay, that's all. I think that's
Yeah,
what he
and
was asking, but I think it was a little bit complicated.
Okay.
So, okay, thank you.
Councilor Di Natale.
I'll cut right to the chase.
Please do.
We're skirting around the question. The questions are based on COVID pandemic, okay, what we went through for 2.5 years, where Board of Healths were doing this. If DPH and the CDC said, do this, everyone would just do it. And anyone who questioned those agencies was considered a kook. And that's wrong.
By whom?
By people in the community. It became political. I'm not talking about use, I'm trying to explain the rationale behind the questions.
Okay.
Is that when federal and state agencies push down mandates to the localities willfully went along with it.
Yes.
And their explanation in many cases were, well, DPH and CDC say to do it, so we're going to do it.
Okay.
And that made the public think that there was no independent thought or rationale behind it. Just because the government says to do something, is that really the right decision based on the facts on the ground? And I think the questions being asked of you is, would you have an independent mind and consider not just input from the community, but other healthcare professionals that may be shunned from society because they don't follow the government narrative, and keep an open mind objectively to all opinions? I think that's the concern and the question, because I witnessed for 2 years not a lot of questions asked at the local level. It was just, state says to do it, we're doing it. And then there were many residents in the city that had problems with what we were doing. And they were being, not by the Board of Health, I'm saying, but politically, unfortunately, both sides, this became political. Everything gets political. People who didn't have the government's opinion shared were considered out of their minds, and they should be censored and cast out of society. And I don't like that. I don't have to agree with everything the government tells me to do, and I would expect our health agencies locally to consider all the information. I understand that when the state and the feds pass something down, not the feds, the state, because the CDC gives recommendations. Mass DPH is really what pushes the things down to the cities and towns. And so in the defense of health boards, they really didn't have a choice, in my opinion. They could defy the health agency, but then there'd be a lot of problems. But I'm skirting around here. The point is
I'm
that...
following you.
The point is, Ms. Tuzinat, is just because the government says to do something doesn't necessarily make it right or make it just. And COVID had a lot of divisiveness, unfortunately. And there was a lot of things that came to light throughout the pandemic that the government ignored and kept their foot on the gas pedal. Keep doing this, keep doing this, keep doing this. And people who had a problem with that were not treated right, in my opinion. They were not treated properly. They weren't considered in the discussion. They were just cast off as crazies.
Okay.
And I don't like that. And so when you mention that you'd listen to the community, I think that's a very good answer. Okay. That you will listen to the community, in addition to doing your research and listening to the state and federal health agencies, taking the totality of the information and not just being a rubber stamp. And that's, I think, what Councilor Fleming was getting at, too. Because a lot of the questions I've got from concerned residents about this appointment, not you specifically, but anybody who's before us for this, is, are they going to be objective-minded and independent while taking the totality of the information before them, and not just picking one side and shunning the other, closed-mindedness? I think that's the reason why the questions are being asked. I personally wasn't going to ask you anything about your opinion of whatever we went through during COVID, because I don't think that's fair to you, because COVID is over. We don't know when the next pandemic's going to happen. Hopefully it doesn't happen for a very long time, but that may involve a completely different virus, a completely different set of circumstances that would warrant some of those health measures. I don't know.
Right.
But that's why I'm not going to ask you, what would you have done? Because I'm not playing Monday morning quarterback with you. I'm not going to put you on the spot like that. And I can't ask you, what would you do in the future? Because I don't know what the future is going to have. So I do know that you're a dedicated resident of the city. I actually have known you for a very long time. I know your family quite well. And you have that passion and dedication to serving this city. And based on your answer tonight of having the community input as part of your decision-making, but not all of it, that was a good answer for me to hear. And I thank you for your willingness to serve, because it's not an easy job. It does get hostile at times in terms of, at meetings, people aren't happy with decisions that are made. But, I think you'll learn very quickly the ropes, and you'll be a very good contributor to the health policy in the city. So I will support your nomination. Thank you.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay,
Can I just say one more thing?
go right ahead.
So I'm not a real big, when you mention that sometimes things get a little bit hostile, I don't know how that's going to be for me. That's not something I've had a whole lot of experience with, but I'm willing to give it a shot. And I know that there's a lot of people who have different opinions, and, I'm going to give it my best effort to be as open-minded as I feel I am, an open-minded person with the city of Fitchburg, with our residents. And, yeah,
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
you're welcome.
All right, the next appointment is a reappointment for the city treasurer and tax collector for the city of Fitchburg, term to expire May 1st, 2026. Ann M. Cervantes. I saw you back there.
Good evening.
How you doing?
I'm good, thanks.
Councilor Di Natale.
Ann, I just wanted to say that I talk a lot all the time about the city's turnaround, slowly but surely, especially in the financial aspect of it, with regards to our bond rating, our managing our debt, and our tax collection receipts and whatnot. And I think a really big part of that turnaround financially is not only in part Auditor Brooks's efforts and the current administration, but you yourself. As a member of the finance team, along with Calvin and the mayor, obviously, there has been a lot of improvement financially in our city, from a bond rating perspective, how we manage our debt. You weren't here during the recessionary period of 08 to 13. When did you start?
2017.
17. So when you came on in 17, I believe you replaced
Calvin.
Mr. Brooks. Right. So we have a very strong financial team at the helm in the city, and I think it's no secret. It's not an accident that the finances in the city have greatly improved in the last 15 years, in part because of your stewardship along with Calvin's and obviously the person that you report to. I just wanted to make one point on that too, is when you started here, I was amazed at the high amount of back tax collection that I've seen on the Status E reports. And I didn't come prepared tonight with the actual figures, but I do recall, I don't remember what fiscal year it was, but there was a fiscal year where we collected well over $1 million in back taxes. And that, to me, was very good to see, because there was a problem in the city before your time with delinquency and not aggressively pursuing it. And your office has done that and continues to do that. And that's part of the reason why we have these larger amounts of free cash certifications every year, is because we're going after those scofflaws that aren't paying, that should be paying, And it's not fair to the overall tax-paying public who do pay their taxes on time. So I'm very encouraged to see your office pursue those ends because it only benefits us in the end, and it's fair. But those are my comments about your nomination.
Thank you.
Without hesitation from me, I hope you stay as long as you can. I know you're going to be losing one of you, your counterpart soon to retirement, but I know a person who, like will fill his shoes. She's been through this many times too, so the city will be in good hands. Thank you.
Thank you.
Councilor Fleming.
Oh, no.
Oh, you're all set.
No, I'm
Motion to approve.
Second?
second.
Motion and second. All those in favor? Aye. It's unanimous.
Thank you.
All right, and finally, the reappointment for the city auditor and finance director for the city of Fitchburg, term to expire May 1st, 2026, Mr. Calvin D. Brooks.
Thank you, councilors. Yeah, although I am retiring shortly, I did ask to be reappointed. I've been doing this particular job for 6 years, and there's one more budget we have to get through. I do sign off on the warrants and so on, and so I wanted, I guess I would say, the security and the assurance that I have the backing of the mayor and the council in the work that I'm doing. I did hear the complimentary remarks directed Ann's way earlier, which I appreciate, but I'm also going to caution everyone that you haven't seen next year's budget yet, and I think it's going to be some hard work that we're going to have to do. There are some things that have been that need to be addressed in the same way that I believe tonight you'll be addressing water and wastewater rates. And I think there are some things that in the city budget we're going to have to be addressing either in this budget or in the next budget. I don't really want to get into the details at this point because I haven't had conversations with the mayor, but I don't want to have this be a fun party and then the next time you hear me, you're not happy with what I'm saying. So thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Brooks. Councilor Di Natale.
Calvin, to me, is modest at times, but he's a finance guy, so he's supposed to be the sky is falling. There have been many times under his tutelage where he's given us those warnings, but you, with the mayor and Ms. Cervantes and others, have weathered those storms. And I have confidence that if there is going to be tightening or there is going to be some difficulties, it's good that you're at the helm, along with Ann and this administration, to weather that storm. But I will also add, though, that I have seen instances budgetary where we've been in a lot of trouble, where we're using uncertified free cash to balance the books. We had no stabilization, junk bond rating status nearly, and an over-reliance on grant funding in many of our agencies. I think we're positioned better than we've been in the last 15 years to take on challenges like we had with the pandemic. We fared very well during that whole ordeal, more than most places, because of the underpinning of our finances, the free cash, the stabilization. And so whatever challenges are coming forward soon, and I have no doubt there will be challenges given the inflationary aspects of the economy, the labor market, as well as the fact that we've had a lot of highs and everything is cyclical, so there's going to be some lows. I'm happy at least to know, at least for this next round, that you and Ann and the mayor are together once again to figure it out and present us with a budget that will get us through the year without hampering core city services. So, and I do mean what I said earlier about your efforts in part in bringing this city's finances back to a more robust fashion. Even though there are challenges that remain, we've come a long way since where we were before you became auditor. That's not in dispute. So, and I also appreciate your willingness, finally, to push the mayor on funding these larger scale projects out of free cash and not pay for it through debt. I've seen a lot of that under your tenure, unlike your predecessor, where we really, if you can pay for it without taking the money out through a loan, you've advocated for it, and that's very good, and that benefits the taxpayers in the long run. So not even hesitating on this one, even though we're going to miss him in a few months. But I know that he's got a backup plan that is just as effective. So, thank you.
Councilor Green.
Mr. Brooks, I always appreciate the fact that you've always kept it real with us, and you've let us know ahead of time so that the sky isn't really falling on us. You're just cautioning us on where we can tighten the belt a little bit. So I always look forward to your little colored piece of paper there stuck in the middle of the finance thing on like, ooh, the cautionary, where we need to tighten our belt, so to speak. But I want to, once again, commend you for stepping forward even through retirement to see this through. We've come a long way, baby, as they say, from the very first, finance debate at Memorial Library with like, oh, God, what have we gotten ourselves into and how are we going to get out of this mess? But we have. And I commend you and the finance team, the work that you and Ann have done together. Just shows the strength that the finance team, including our finance team here on council as well, the effort that they've put into it. So thank you for that, to keep us in a good place. I appreciate that. As a resident, I appreciate that. So thank you.
Thank you.
Councilor Van Hassinger.
Mr. Brooks, you've always been a calm and rational voice that we can trust when it comes to financial matters, and thank you very much for all your service to the city these years. You've done great work, and all I can ask is, are you willing to forego retirement and serve out the whole term? I'd love to see that.
The beard can't take it.
As you may know, there's a counselor who has mentioned that to me already.
Oh, really?
That if he should be elected mayor, that he would like me to continue. So.
Well, thank you very much. I'm glad we'd have you for through this budget process and a couple more months.
Thank you.
It's been great to talk with you and work with you on these matters, and I am sad it's going to come to an end.
Thank you.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion and second. All those in favor?
Aye.
That's unanimous.
Thank you, councilors.
We do have one person who has just been nominated who would like to address the council about her new appointment. She was approved, and that is Annie L. Belmer.
Hello, everybody. Hello. I got the 7 o'clock notice. I didn't get the 6:45 notice. So, therefore, but I just want to say thank you, and in my absence, for the approval. But I do want to say that I am the newly installed pastor at First Baptist Church in Pittsburgh, and I've been here over 6-7 months, and I've really been a community activist and engaged in the community fully, and I continue to do. I want to continue to do so, especially for the Council on Aging. I want to represent, our elders and our seniors, and I want to represent myself too. I just want to say that, when we do these things, sometimes we're representing ourselves as well and our families, and so I look forward to working with the council and just being able to help navigate systems and listen to our elders and see what they need in their services and anything else that I'll be able to do to help. I am certainly honored at the appointment. I just, I'm overwhelmed, and I thank everyone here on the council and everybody here. And I grew up in Roxbury and Dorchester, so I have someone in common here. That's great. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Belmer, and congratulations on your appointment.
Oh, thank you.
Motion to adjourn.
Do we have a motion? Do we have a second? All right, motion and second. All those in favor?
Aye.
All right, we stand adjourned. Thank you.